for money for something that I hate.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Then you walk and you on you get there. We just handled stuff ourselves. We learned how to take care of ourselves. We didn't.
No, definitely.
Okay, trust tree, right? Trust tree. God told me Colton Pacer. After Pacer was born, I went and got fixed. I saw smoke. I watched little Christy's face. She's like, and doctors up here, and cutting and sawing and smoke and. Anyways, Coach Thompson and Coach McCormick came to pick me up. Mama had gone to school, so she was at college that afternoon after it was over, and they were going to come pick me up. Well, I was tired of waiting, so I'm walking down 51. And it's Coach Thompson, Coach McCormick, and Colt. Colt was like 5. And they're driving down the road, and Colt goes, "There's my dad." And Coach Thompson said, "No, it's not. Be quiet, Colt. So, yeah, we took care of ourselves. That's what we did. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. A little bit. Anyway. Is government needed?
Yes.
I mean, I'm a guy that doesn't like government intrusion in my life. And I will say, yeah, we need government. Because human beings need some sort of fences. We need control. Right? We don't handle chaos very good. All right. I was talking with a guy yesterday, kid who graduated here, and he's got a kid playing junior high football. And he said, this disease, whatever it is, escaped from a high security, maximum level 4, and we think this is going to do anything. It makes us feel good. Or, no, it doesn't. Americans have always harbored some suspicion of government, and they have wondered how extensive a role it should play in our lives. Is that video on? Is that okay? Thomas Jefferson famously observed that the best government was the one that governed least. That's true if you have maturity and responsibility. That makes sense? You're assuming that people are going to do things right. Can't do that anymore. But that's true. Indeed, a desire for limited government has also been a central feature of American political culture in history since its nation's founding. That's one of the most important things that America was founded on, was limited government, limited by the rule of law and by the people. The law is what rules. The government doesn't rule. The law rules the government and rules us. It doesn't always do that because we don't always make it do that, but anyway. Generally speaking, the government is needed to provide those services, sometimes called public goods, that all citizens need but are not likely to be able to provide adequately for themselves. Y'all like roads? Highways? Yes. Life is good with highways and roads. What if they just told everybody, y'all are responsible for that road in front of your house? Is that any good? Would that be any good? No. So the government handles roads, highways, bridges, that sort of thing. We couldn't do that ourselves. It's good that the government does that. We can all pretty much agree on that public good or that public service. Do we agree on everything the government should be doing? We don't. These might include defense against foreign aggression, maintenance of public order, stable currency, enforcement of contractual obligations and property rights, and a guarantee of some measure of social justice. These are goods that benefit everybody, but that no individual or group on its own can afford to supply. Government, with its powers to tax, and regulate is typically viewed as the best way to provide public goods. However, there is often disagreement about which public goods are essential and how they should be provided. The precise extent to which government involvement in American society is needed has been debated throughout history and will continue to be a central focus of political contention. Much of what citizens have come to depend on and take for granted as somehow part of the natural environment is in fact created by government. Take the example of a typical college student's day, throughout which that student relies on a host of services and activities organized by national, state, and local government agencies. Anyways, we need government to do some stuff, but we argue about what all needs to be done. We are 24 trillion in debt. Fall down. That's a trillion. If you have a million millionaires, they called up a million millionaires, and they each brought $1 million with them. You have $1 trillion. Think about that.
And they'd be broke.
What's that?
They'd be broke.
Well, a 1 trillion's a million millions. Does that kind of blow your mind a little bit? Okay? We're 24 trillion in debt.
But can't you just print more money?
Yeah? And then what happens to the dollar? The value of the dollar is less. We can say, I can think all kinds of things. I would love to go on some kind of vacation. I would love to do some stuff at the house. I would love to buy Titan some clothes. He's starting to grow. I'd love to, there's a lot of stuff I'd like to do, but we can't do it because we don't have the money right now. So we have to make choices. Our government doesn't make choices. We have to pick what we can and can't do, and I think we all agree we need to cut government spending. But then no one wants my stuff cut. Don't cut my stuff. No, don't cut my stuff. Don't cut. Last spring, the government gave out checks to people. Y'all know about that?
Yeah.
I am not a fan of government interference in my life, but I cashed the check. I don't think many people sent it back. Right? When little Christy when we got married, we moved to Hempstead, and she was going to college at Prairie View A&M, and I was excited because Prairie View A&M is a historically black college, so she was going to get a minority scholarship. We weren't going to have to pay for school, or pay very little for school. I don't believe in government involvement. That year, they canceled minority scholarships. So, African American and Hispanic guys going to UT used to get minority scholarships. They didn't get that anymore. Hot little blondes going to Prairie View A&M didn't get a scholarship anymore. I got to live out what I believe. So we say, a lot of times we say we think we're down with something or we want something, but then we don't want it to affect our life any negatively, without being comfortable. But we all have ideas about government. It is necessary, but we're going to argue about what all it should do. And it comes down to money most of the time. Does that kind of make sense? All right, let's look at these little forms of government. If you want to jot these down, I think this will help you in whatever quiz they do. All right. And you'll hear these in your life. You'll hear them talk about this sometimes. An autocratic government or an autocracy is like a monarchy. It could be, some people could use it to be like a dictatorship, possibly. See, in my world, an authoritarian government, a totalitarian government, a dictatorship, an autocracy, it's all kind of the same thing, but really in reality it's probably not. But autocracy is a monarchy, a king, a single ruler. There's not many of them anymore. Not many of them. There's a few. If you count the dictators, what's going on in North Korea today?
Kim Jong-un's in a coma.
He supposedly he was sick like at Christmas time. This guy, okay, his granddad was the original dictator, and his dad was the next dictator. The granddad probably had some sense because he had lived in a life that had no in it. Does that make sense? If you have no in your life, you're going to be a piece of garbage. You can't help it. If there's no, that's why people go nuts. That's why all these singers and actors and actresses, they go crazy. Because all of a sudden there's no in their life. Does that make sense? And this third dictator now, there had never been a no in his life. And he's treated like a god, and you can't help but be a piece of garbage. And I'm sure he was not the healthiest person in the world. And the rumor is now he's either in a coma or dead or worse.
There's a picture of him a year ago and a picture of his recent appearance, and they don't look like the same guy. They just put in a substitute.
And his sister is supposedly going to take over. And people involved that have some sort of scent or some sort of connection are saying she's 10 times worse than he was. And he was human debris. So have fun, world. An how's that, oligarchy? How do you spell that? God, sounds still. Yeah, oligarchy is a group of people. There's not many of these either. Oligarchy. It's like a dictatorship, but it's a group of people. Like a group of military leaders or a group of landowners. It's like a committee. It's a committee dictator. I guarantee that's not going to be on any quiz.
Board of directors?
But does that make sense? Yeah. It's a group. It's a committee, group. Usually wealthy landowners or military. Was Rome, did it have the tribunal? Y'all heard anything about that? I want to say there was like a triumvirate. That was it.
Greece?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. Don't write any of that down. That's fine. But that's an oligarchy. Not many of them. Democracy. We know this one. What's democracy? Representatives. Okay, the people, this literally means the people rule.
You're talking about a direct democracy, right?
Hmm?
A direct democracy?
I'll go both of them. People rule. People make the decisions. In Greece, you had the landowners, didn't have nothing else to do. They'd show up on a hill, and they'd walk around and they'd discuss things. And they voted. You had to be a male landowner to vote. That was a direct democracy. That doesn't exist. Direct democracy, everybody votes on every issue. Why does that not exist? Why would that not exist in America?
Because it's not possible.
Parking, number one.
There's more like people in certain areas.
We have things to do. We have jobs. We got kids. We got stuff going. We can't just go to Washington and vote on stuff. So direct democracy, we would all pick up and go vote once a week in Washington. We can't do that. Back thousands of years ago, you could probably on an island, Gilligan's Island. I started realizing y'all don't know the stuff I know. Y'all know Gilligan's Island? It's not even barely on anymore. That's a great show. It's fantastic. Gilligan's Island could be a direct democracy because there's 7 people, there's no work, there's no jobs, so they could do this. We have a republic. That is a representative democracy. We elect people to represent us to go make decisions. Problem we got today in America is we elect the same people over and over and over because we've heard of their names before. And then they don't give a crap about what they're doing. They just want to stay in office. And so we're in the mess we're in now. But direct democracy, everybody goes and votes. Republic, representative democracy, we vote on them and they go vote. Because we have things to do. We got something to make. Everybody cool there? All right, constitutional government. Take a wild guess what a constitutional government is. We have a constitution. There are limits placed on the government by a constitution. Limits are placed on the government by a constitution. The rule of law. I don't know if y'all are going to get to the Magna Carta here. Magna Carta is the most important document in American history or world history because King John. There's Charles, there's John. There's like 3 king names. And just put letters after their names, so you can't keep them straight. But King John in 1215 at Runnymede. That's a cool name. That's an English town. You know America, Runnymede, but England, Runnymede. And all the knights and the landowners got together and said, we got to do something about this Yahoo. He's being stupid. You're not going to find this in history book. I'm not lying to you, but they're not going to say it like this. So they invited the king to a barbecue in Runnymede. The king showed up, he walked in, and everybody, and there's all these swords just right here. He goes, yeah, what you want? And they said, you're going to sign this piece of paper? And he goes, okay. And he signed it. He signed the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta limited the power of government for the first time. It limited the power of the king and gave power and rights to individuals. That had never been done before. And it kind of created Parliament, which wasn't really Parliament yet, but that was important in America because the idea of representative government, of limited government, of the rule of law that the king had to answer to this document was huge. So this rule of law where the government is not above the law, it has to answer to the law. That's huge. I love it. Your government teacher thinks it's huge, but it's huge. The truth is the truth no matter who believes it.
Facts don't care what the feelings.
All right, here's where, okay, I told y'all, I look at authoritarian and totalitarian the same. I'm going to learn something here. An authoritarian system okay. Yeah, authoritarian and totalitarian. Authoritarian government is where the government recognizes no formal limits, so it's a dictatorship. No formal limits, but may be restrained by other social institutions. So there's no limits. North Korea is a dictatorship. Did you know that Kim Jong-un's dad bowled a perfect game the first time he ever bowled? It's true. He had, I think it was 13 holes in one the first time he played golf. That's the way they treat these guys. And that was the report. You know, the newspaper reporters. They're standing there, and he hits it. It goes like 10 feet. And then he hits it again. It goes like 20 feet that way. And then he hits again. He has like a 17 before he gets to the green. And then he 7 putts. And he looks around, and I can't do North Korean accent. He says, "What was that?"
Pardon the interruption. All juniors should be
And they
back
all
in
go,
class at this time.
1. He goes, "Yes." You know, so that's who you're dealing with. No limits, but some groups, maybe like the military, maybe some group, some social group somewhere has some say-so over it. So there's no limits by like a constitution, but some groups may have say-so. Does that kind of make sense? I'm gonna say maybe the military, maybe that's probably the best example. Maybe the military puts this guy in power, and there's no limit to it, but he still kind of checks the military on stuff. That's an authoritarian. Totalitarian, there's just no limits. None of that. Nothing else has say-so. There's no other social restrictions on the leader. I am offering my services to America. I've done this every year. I will be dictator for 2 weeks. I'm the greatest dictator ever because I don't want control. I don't want to be in charge of anything. I want to fix stuff and then walk away. So 2 weeks, I'll be dictator of America and I'll walk away. Election day would be April 16th. Anybody know the significance of that? What's April 15th? You don't know it yet. It's tax day. So we vote after we just dealt with all that. While we're thinking about it. Ballots would be a blank sheet of paper. So you have to know the person you're voting for and the office they're running for. You don't have to spell it right, but you have to be able to tell what it is. If you write president, what is that? President. That's fine. That's acceptable. Okay? You don't have to spell it right. You just have to be able to know here's the office and here's who's running for it. So you're making an intelligent vote. What else is there? I had like 7 things on it. Oh. Anyways, I want to be dictator, fix everything, and walk away with no pay. No pay. I want 1% of the increase in the gross domestic product. So if the economy booms, I would do away with corporate income taxes, do away with estate taxes. Just because somebody dies, you don't owe the government money. Businesses can keep all their money, not have to pay business taxes. They have to pay their personal income tax, but businesses wouldn't have to pay taxes. They'd invest in themselves, the economy would boom, we'd have jobs. And then if the economy does boom, I would just ask for a one-time payment of 1%, 0.5% of the increase in the gross domestic product. And I guess if I want to get greedy, I'd probably ask for 2 acres, a 2,200 square foot house with a weight room, and that's it. That's it. And I would fix everything. That's the best dictator ever. I wouldn't want control. You could be, let's say some country's crappy and this guy comes up, I always say guy because usually girls are not evil. Okay, well, wait a minute. Yes, girls are evil, but it's a different kind of evilness. It's not like diabolical, destroy the world evil. It's more like just destroy rival evil. But they start out great and they have good ideas and they want to help, and then all of a sudden they realize, I gotta have a milkshake every day? You know, and then it just turns into me, I, just grapes like that, lounging and watching TV. And anyway, okay, so does authoritarian and totalitarian make sense? I bet that's going to be it. Not much longer. I won't keep you long for a second. You know what tolerance means in America? It means you think like me. Think like me, you're tolerant. If you don't, you're intolerant. How can you talk about tolerance when you're saying this guy needs to shut up? That's not tolerant. No, that's something. Anyway, that was for free. I think that's okay. We did direct, did. All right, here's something we're going to talk about. This will be the last thing I do here today. Yeah, pluralism. I know there's going to be some questions about this. They're going to talk about this. Pluralism. What's the word plural mean? More, yeah, more than one. Does it sound like I know what I'm talking about? I'm not the smartest guy in the world. My goal in life, one of my goals or dreams or whatever, is to go on Jeopardy and just kind of dress like this and talk like this and get on there and they introduce you and they say, Edward is a professor of economics at Yale University, and then they go on and they'll say, Jonathan Ryle is a football coach from Texas. Howdy, how y'all doing? And then watch their faces. Well, a football coach. And then Alex Trebek, that's how they always say it. He says, on the board is English literature. And I'll say, I'll take English literature for $1,500. And just plow the field with them and just mow it down and walk away. Sorry, Yale. See Harvard. How's it going? I don't have any respect for Yale. But this is funny. Pacer got 3 letters from Yale football this spring. Yale. I said, send him a transcript, see what happens. Sorry, Mr. Ryle, we made a big mistake. We didn't mean to send you anything. Forgot you were listening. Columbia, too. Columbia sent him crap, too. I was like, this is all. Their football coach called Pacer. He's like, well, send a transcript. That'll end that. Mom's like, you think, would he really go to Christy Ryle, Godzilla? No, it's not. Don't worry about that at all. Crap, that's not good. All right. Pluralism, I'm trying to think how to word this where it makes sense. Okay, pluralism means there should be competition. I think how to say this. There should be competition for influence in government. Okay. Competition for influence. Let me see. Okay. I don't know if this is the way they mean it or they think. I always think of it like this. Right now, the influence of government is, I need campaign money and I want to be reelected. Pluralism is kind of how it should be. It should end with compromise and it's not maturity. That's really what it is. Maturity and responsibility. But really, there should be, at the end, there should be compromise. And there should be some sort of resolution of the best possible resolution. Not just which side gets me the most power. Does that make sense? I'm not doing that good. Let me see. All right, right now, you got Nancy Pelosi and you got Donald Trump. They're both idiots. And Nancy Pelosi says, they both use the words non-starter. Where like, Nancy Pelosi presents something and Donald Trump says, that's a non-starter. Like, we're not even looking at that. Because it has stuff I don't like. and Nancy Pelosi will look at what the Republicans present and say, that is a non-starter. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. You bring your ideas, let's figure out the best solution. Let's fix this. Not my way or the highway. That's not pluralism the way it's happening right now. In pluralism, you're going to end up with compromise, and this word is never used in Washington, moderation. And we've never really gotten along in America. It just seems like it's worse now. It's not. Aaron Burr was shot in a duel over political stuff. So it's always been horrible. But this, and I gotta look more into it, does that kind of make sense? Pluralism is really, we don't like it. Okay, does this sound good if I just explain this? Does that sound like, yes, that's the way it ought to be. But in reality, when you're maybe not getting what you want, you're like, well, wait a minute, no, we gotta have, you know what I'm saying? We all, yes, we need this, but then, well, I don't want it their way, I want it my way. And that's what turns into just knocking heads and all that kind of stuff. I'll do a better job of that, but hopefully some of this will help you later, and we'll kind of look at this chapter and see what happens. The first quiz is going to be kind of like the first quiz is going to be like a test. The first quiz is going to be a test to see what this class is like and what they're wanting. You know what I mean? All right.
Teachers, pardon the interruption. Can you please send the following students to Miss G's office? Caden Baker, Keegan Cornell, Laramie Deering, Emily Freeman, Stephanie Gober, Candace Green, Nash Hager, Trinity Hawkins, Desiree Jackson, and Cutler Jenkins. Thank you.
Maybe I think probably the best thing you can do between now and the first quiz, read that first chapter and maybe just kind of look over the little study guide in the back. I don't know, but we'll try to do some stuff. Work it out.